to talk in this post about particular industries or fields of business where there might be a higher risk level to getting engaged in, major commercial disputes that, can quickly escalate, can, become a major distraction on business time, cost a lot of money, and have a high risk of becoming litigious and falling into the court system. Some businesses are more prone to falling into dispute than others. So possibly they need to take more care in their risk management and the things they do to prevent those disputes or minimize the risk than others. What are they? Well, there's a number that I'm familiar with. Firstly, there's the building and construction industry. There's the information technology industry, the software industry. There are franchise industry. The thing that stands out here in each of these industries is that they have a lot of detail involved. They're more complex. There's more money involved. There's more room for error. And there's more room when there is error for people to suffer loss. So you can understand, that in that context, a lot more care has to be taken. If you put a foot wrong, if there are things that could be avoided but you don't, and it leads to dispute, those disputes can very quickly become very big, very nasty, very expensive. Which means that there's a huge downside involved here if you don't play your cards correctly. Now, there are other posts that I've done here, many of them, which you can find, which cover many, many different aspects of commercial disputes. And of course, I'm not going to try to replicate all of that in this particular post. The purpose of this post mainly is to alert people who are in business, in commerce, but in areas that are more prone to major disputes occurring and therefore more prone to be drawn into very time-consuming, expensive litigation, to be much, much more mindful about the matters which are covered on on the Commercial Disputes Management Center website and in various blog posts that are here about paying attention to the things that can lead to dispute and the things that you can do to minimize the risk. So let me just give some examples in those industries. The building and construction industry is fraught with the risk of dispute. This is because we're dealing with expensive things. We're dealing with expensive construction. We're dealing with expensive residences. We're dealing with high emotions. We're dealing with, in the building, a residential building area, for instance, where often what's being built is the most major asset that anyone ever pays for in their lifetime. On the other hand, we're dealing with businesses, builder businesses that are operating in a current environment that's very difficult for them to survive. There's a huge amount of competition. They have to be very careful with their margins to stay competitive. If they mismanage the project, they can quickly find that they're going to have cash flow issues, and that can spell disaster for a building business. So both builder and owner, the odds for them are very high. And so if they can find their way to, on the builder side, to understand what I've covered in many other posts about how they can change the way they run their business to incorporate better policies, better procedures to deal with disputes, and to go for early intervention using the right expertise that they can bring in to contain and de-escalate the dispute and then move it on to a very effective, efficient management protocol. leading to early exit of the dispute and resolution, that's something that really, in some instances, can spell the difference between life and death for the business. Equally, for the consumer, they may have a very big building loan they've taken out. They may have committed all the cash resources they have, and they may have themselves very little margin in their finances to deal with a long, protracted, expensive dispute. So that's the first industry that I single out for special mention that could both sides there benefit from paying attention to how there may be a better way to deal with disputes than simply rushing off to respective lawyers and engaging in litigation. What's another? Well, I'm going to mention franchises as another example. Franchises, again, is where a lot is at risk for the franchisee. Again, it's a major commitment on their part to go into business with a franchise, to commit to a particular franchise, to commit to a particular territory for the franchise, and to have expectations of success with the franchise that suddenly turns sour in some way. If a dispute happens and the dispute's not quickly resolved, these things tend to spiral very quickly, and it can just simply spell the death knell for that particular franchise. Franchisees need to have their total focus on their business and on the business model to get it up to hitting pay dirt as soon as possible in order for them to have justified the large expense which many of them pay to acquire the franchise. So the odds are very high for them if they get it wrong. On the franchisor's side, the franchising entity, they have a lot at risk as well because they have a reputation and they need to protect that reputation. And if it starts getting out there in the marketplace that they're making misrepresentations about the potential profit, about the benefits of the business, of the upside of being one of their franchisees, that could go around like wildfire. And a lot of potential new customers to be franchisees may be heading for the exit. Many of them may have been looking just at the very, getting to the point of buying a franchise, and they hear this news of unhappy other franchisees, and they decide no, they won't go ahead. That can spell the death knell for a new, emerging, or even established franchise business. So they need to give particular attention to how they manage and deal with commercial disputes, and to be doing all the things that they possibly can, and which we cover in other posts and on the website of Commercial Disputes Management Center, of how to put risk management into place and how to nip these disputes in the bud very early and get them out of the way without a need to be involved in litigation. What's another industry? Another one is the information technology business. Well, that's a very, very big industry, covers a lot of things. And we live in the technological age, and there's products coming out of all kinds, both hardware and software all the time, that are involved in resourcing corporations' infrastructure in the services they provide and the way they can conduct their business. If these things go wrong, if hardware is installed and it goes wrong, or software is installed and integrated throughout a whole corporate system and it goes wrong, can immediately, in a very short time, cause a lot of financial harm because it interferes with the company's ability to sell its products and its services. It can cause financial harm because when these things go bad and the company can't conduct its business properly and efficiently, customers turn away and go elsewhere to someone who can deliver. So you can see there the potential for a dispute that happens between a service provider and the customer to escalate is very, very high. So once again, there has to be a capability there to direct those disputes as quickly as possible into a protocol, into a system to be dealt with under a blueprint or a roadmap, if you like, that can apply, that contain it, intervene early, contain it, de-escalate it, then put it onto an efficient management track, and then move it to quick exit and early resolution. Now, companies that set up the right internal policies, procedures, protocols, that either they can manage themselves in the right way to achieve these goals, or bring in external experts, external expertise to resource them, it becomes an essential part of that whole company's infrastructure. What's another area? Well, as we know, IP is often one of the most valuable assets that are built up in corporations. And in some areas, infringements of IP can cause huge damage. So whether it be copyright or patents or trademarks or whatever else, for instance, businesses that are built around selling unique original software, they are creating products for businesses that can depend on these products to do their business efficiently. So if something goes wrong there, a dispute will happen very, very quickly. On the other hand, if someone has developed a brand around a particular product and the trademark associated with that is extremely important to them, anything that might transgress that intellectual property will spawn a dispute, and a very serious dispute, very quickly. So in summary, in each of these industries that I've been talking about that are exposed to a higher level of risk, there's a number of common features. Well, first one is that the contracts involved here are quite complex. And whenever you have more complexity, there's a higher level of risk of getting into dispute. Secondly, it's the factor of intangibility. In these products and services, what's being delivered is more intangible, and where there's more intangibility, there's a higher risk of people having misunderstandings about what their entitlements are and falling into dispute. Third factor is that we're dealing in the area of high cost. We're talking about high cost assets, whether it be real estate or it be software or it be franchise or whatever. We're dealing in high dollar values. Whenever we're dealing in high dollar values, the expectations are higher, and hence there's more emotions involved if there's a perception that one party's failing to perform the contract correctly. And the last factor that's common to them is that by the very nature of these businesses and the products and services, there's more flexibility in outcome. And again, where there's room for different perceptions about what is a satisfactory outcome, and when the job's properly performed, there's more room for people to fall into dispute. So what does that all mean at the end of the day? It means that people operating in these sorts of industries have to pay more attention to what can be done to put in their risk management, and what can be done to identify any emerging dispute quickly and capture it, and then manage it well and bring it to resolution, and the policies, procedures, and contracts they have in place to ensure that this can be done in a way that minimizes the risk of long, protracted, expensive litigation.